Welcome friends back to my channel. I took a short summer break. I did some paragliding and paramotoring. If you're interested in that, go check out my vlog channel. But anyways, if you're here for shading, we are working through a series of different rendering techniques. In today's video, we're going to be covering how to shade a sphere, and I'm going to be covering shadows and cast shadows and all of that good stuff. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm on the iPad here, and this is kind of a preview what it'll look like, and we'll go ahead and start with a new layer. First thing I will do is draw a circle. Then I'm going to go ahead and draw a horizontal line to kind of represent the horizon, and also it's going to be our surface because we're going to have some reflected light a little bit later on. I also have a large light source coming from this direction that we're going to work from our shading. Now that we have the sphere, let's go ahead and figure out where the shading occurs. So one technique we can do is we can imagine that this light source continues on through our sphere, and what we can do is cut this in half at perpendicular to that, and then we can create an ellipse right where that perpendicular line is. And I can kind of cheat here with ProCreate, and I can put both those ends on where the perpendicular line intersects our sphere. Now I can begin our shading. This is what's called the terminator, where it's going to change from the light to the mid to the dark. And one thing I forgot to do actually is I'm going to make this a dotted line because that's on the other side of the sphere. This line here is on the side that's facing us. All right, so back to here, we can go ahead and start shading. I'm going to turn my brush down to a little under 20%, and we can go ahead and start shading in right here called the terminator. And then as we get closer to the side down here, it's going to be quite a bit darker, and this is called the core shadow. And I'll label these for reference a little bit later. And actually I'll turn up the shading a little here. It'll be quite a bit darker. And then I'll turn it back down. And then on this side we have what's called where the direct light hits. And notice that I am shading in the contour of the sphere. And then as we get more toward the mid-tone, it gets a little bit darker and it starts to transition. Now that we kind of shaded that in, we got a couple more areas on this object to work on. And the first one is called the highlight, and that's going to be the reflected light off of the direct light surface. So that can be either on the top or the side, depends on where the light is. If the light is behind or on the side or in front, on where that light source is, so you can make that where you like. And then also we are going to have reflected light. If you imagine this light continues and hits off the surface, it's going to reflect back on there. Or if this light also can reflect off this surface, we can have either one or two, also depending on where the light is, if it's in front of it or behind it. In this case, we'll do both the bottom and the top. So we'll now sketch in a little bit of that reflected light. All right, now I'll go ahead and label it before we do the last one. This one here, this is called our direct light. This is called our highlight. This is called our core shadow. And these are called our reflected light. All right, now we have one more step, and that's our cast shadow. There is a way that you can measure the cast shadow. I'm not going to go in too depth in this video. I have another video where I covered cast shadow and how you calculate it. I'm just going to summarize that. And the way that you would do that is you have your light source up here, and if you come down to the horizon, it's called a shadow vanishing point. And you take those two, one on the top, one on the bottom, and they will eventually converge behind your object, and that will be the length of your cast shadow. So I'm just going to sketch it in for now, and we can talk about a little bit about the cast shadow. So similar how we have a light, a mid-tone, and a dark, we also have that with our cast shadow. So right next to the object is going to be the darkest point, and then it gets a little bit lighter out toward the middle, and then the lightest out at the edge. And so let's also label those. This is called the umbra. This is called the penumbra. And this is called the antumbra. And all three of these make our cast shadow. This is also fascinating if you are studying lunar eclipses, and that's really a good way to learn how those shadows cast on the Earth from the sun. All right, let's do one more thing. We'll go ahead and show just the shadow there, and you can see how it ended up rendering. Hopefully you found this helpful. Let me know if you have any questions, comments, or even please leave a suggestion of a video that you would like to see, anything art related, or I'm currently in a series of rendering, so I'll be making more videos. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on those or even future videos. Check out the Knowledge Mavens art channel, and I can't wait to share more of these with you. I'm excited to see you in the next episode. I'll see you next time. So long.